Theaters, concert halls, stadiums. When we're in these spaces, we immediately know where to look. The stage is to live performance what the picture frame is to graphic art. It directs our gaze to where the art's creator intended. In fact, the frame analogy is so apt that we employ it as a term to classify this sort of direction of focus. Richard Schechner writes that the undergirding principle of performance across disciplines and over time is that any action that is framed, enacted, presented, highlighted, or displayed is a performance. Those actions we colloquially consider to be performances are ones that are designed with frames in mind: a play, a concert, a speech. And even within those larger frames, there are nested frames that further direct our focus. In a play, for instance, a lead actor standing downstage in a spotlight is framed as the central performance of that scene rather than, say, a chorus member standing upstage in shadow. In a concert, a frontman or soloist is meant to be the main visual and auditory focus of the musical moment. This is common practice enforced by established frames that we've come to expect when viewing a performance. But I think most of us know that performance isn't really so evenly divided. There's a lot happening in the space outside the frame, often in direct relationship to what's inside. We see it all the time. In fact, we're fascinated with it.
For us to remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
Make no mistake, this is performance too, albeit of a different sort. No sanctioned direction of focus occurs to guide our gaze to these peripheral performances. Instead, their expressive nature, contextual factors, or even simple chance lead us to them. More often than not, they aren't explicitly for us, yet our perception of them as performative imbues them with a special theatricality. Josette Farrell describes this theatricality as a process that has to do with a gaze that postulates and creates a distinct, virtual space belonging to the other. In our terms, a frame, as worthy of our attention as what's happening on stage. This spectatorial gaze can create new frames within sanctioned ones as well. Where's your visual focus right now? I'm gonna assume it isn't on the guitarist. Whether or not the drummer is consciously trying to distract us, he is, in fact, distracting us. Here, give the music a listen for a second. Now, watch and listen. Do the drums seem louder or clearer now that you can see the drummer conspicuously goofing off? The power of the visual frame can bleed into our oral experiences, and I think most experienced musicians are, in one way or another, aware of that effect. As such, every artistic performance is filled with little quasi- or non-artistic micro-performances that guide the gaze of the spectator in one way or another. Oftentimes, these are actually performances of subtlety itself, like stillness or attentiveness, designed to be ignored in a process similar to what Schechner has termed selective inattention. Sometimes performances accentuate the music itself, the rhythm, the tone, the energy. Jazz music is a really rich ground for exploring this effect, mostly because of its focus on individualism and the interpersonal relationships between musicians on stage. It's commonplace on the jazz bandstand to emotionally approve of a musical choice with a loud exclamation, physical motion, or musical gesture, what Schechner and Roger Caillois might call bursts of microplay, or ilinx play, respectively. Without these micro-performances, the little stories that take place within the larger narrative of the tune, the personality of jazz wouldn't exist. Actively seeking out these stories can expand our experience of a performance exponentially. Sometimes the results are comedic, like in the awkward moments that remind us why we have this selective framing in the first place. At other times, though, participating in those peripheral moments can help us understand how performers connect to each other as people, even in moments when not everyone's actions are the focus of the frame. The product we experience most immediately is the core of the art, but it's all the extra bits that give us the texture, the three-dimensionality to a live performance. Active spectatorship allows us to participate in the creation of art in real time. Some artistic projects have tried to make such spectatorship a more physically explicit reality, like Spring Awakening's onstage seats or Sleep No More's free-roaming audience participation. But the reality is that any performance can intimately involve us in its action. We just have to pay attention.